And hello and welcome to One United. This is Paritosh Joshi along with Wali Siddiqui and Anshuman Joshi. We're back with some Manchester United news, and we're going to talk about the Newcastle game and the situation with Bruno Fernandes, whether he is going to miss some games due to Cristiano Ronaldo being tested positive for COVID-19. First of all, welcome back, Wali and Anshuman. It's been quite a few days. We have not recorded because we were quite consistent for the past few times. And now, due to the international break, we have taken a few days. We are back, and we have some exciting news and some terrible news. This is going to be a very heavy month for each Manchester United fan. I think we are turning this new leaf. I think we have already lost the games. There is a break, so now there is time for some improved performances, and it is going to be a very crucial month for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What do you think about it, Wally?
Well, yes, like you say, it's the moment of truth. And ironically, people do say that it was a PSG game that got him the job, and it might be the PSG game that costs him the job. Because by the way the things are going right now at Manchester United, his back is against the wall, and none of us, I don't think any of us, in fact, the rival fans have already written us off. In fact, plenty of our own fans have written us off. I don't think that it's going to be a really good season ahead. And like you said, this is the deciding month. If Solskjaer does a Solskjaer, because whenever he's been under pressure, the players somehow uh, bring out the energy and win a few games, and out of the blue. And if they manage to
Yeah.
do that this time is going to be even more difficult because it's the Champions League, and you're facing PSG on PSG as well as RB Leipzig. You're facing a reinforced
Hmm.
Arsenal and the Chelsea unit as well. You're facing, in fact, Newcastle next, and Newcastle hasn't been a happy hunting ground for us for quite some time. So yeah, it's gonna be a heavy month, like you said, and whatever we just have to stick by the team. We have no other option. We are the fans of Manchester United, and it's our destiny to stick by them. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah, there are a lot of things we need to talk about. First the United, the whole performances that we've had, and now how it is important for Ole to just perform at his best for the next month in order to keep his job. Anshuman, we'll have to, when we are talking about Manchester United, we can't not talk about Bruno Fernandes at the moment, and there is some heavy dark clouds above the performances and the games ahead, and whether Bruno is going to play in them, because the UK is certainly having some issues with the whole situation and how they handle the COVID and the people who are tested positive, whether they are in touch. There is a 14-day quarantine period, if I'm not wrong, in the UK. So, how is that going to pan out for Manchester United and Bruno if he misses games?
Mhm. Well, I think when we talk about international break and the three matches international break in the middle of a pandemic, I think we can have a separate podcast on that. But let's not go there right now. And well, he's not going to play the Newcastle match. That's for sure, Bruno. So as far as our midfield dilemma goes, that will be solved for like one match. And I think a lot has been made about his comments and his performances over the last couple of matches because he was substituted at halftime in our 6-1 defeat, and he was said like he's fighting with the team, he's fighting with the players. He's being rumored to make comments about the manager, and like the fans have been waxing lyrical about him. Like this is the kind of leader we want, and this is the kind of player we want at the club, and that's all well and good. And I think my biggest issue with all this news coming out of the club regarding the way Bruno is fighting with players, and I don't really believe them to be true completely. I think it's just something that is being added by the media to just add more fire to the whole situation. But I think, as Wali said before recording, there is no fire, there is no smoke without a fire, and there is something going on behind. And I'm pretty sure that this is not the first time Bruno Fernandes has been talked about with his temperament issues, with how he likes to give
I think we've lost Anshuman at the moment. and I'm not quite
Yep.
sure when we'll be getting back with him. So I'll get back to you, Wali, and I'll talk about the same things with you. That what do you think about the whole Bruno Fernandes situation, and how is it going to pan out for United if he misses games?
Well, it is going to be difficult, but I think the good thing is that we have a proper midfielder if he does come in place. That is Donny van de Beek, and we know that he is a quality midfielder. In fact, he scored a goal last night for Netherlands as well.
Yeah,
So he's a really quality midfielder. I think he might have a really a big role to play in the next month because the pressure is on Paul Pogba as well as Bruno Fernandes. I thought that Paul Pogba might have been the one to settle for the bench, but like Anshuman had said before signing off over here, that Bruno Fernandes is rift with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the rest of the players, along with another reason that we just spoke about, the COVID situation with Cristiano Ronaldo and him playing alongside him. I think it just gives Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to bench him once again over here. So Donny van de Beek will feature in midfield, I feel. Finally, his chance will come to start over here in the Premier League game. But I don't think that we might miss him a lot. Yes, I feel that he is the perfect candidate to be the skipper over here. Because, like you said, we need some players with fire in their belly. But like I said, but the logical thing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to do, from his perspective, will be to bench him at this moment. So Van de Beek will be there. I'm not too worried about the midfield, to be honest. It's the defense which I'm quite worried about more than the midfield. We will talk about the Harry Maguire situation as well. So I think Van de Beek and
yes,
Pogba might give a really good partnership over there.
yeah. And Anshuman joins us back. Welcome back, Anshuman. I think the internet was having some trouble. But we were talking
Hmm.
about the whole Bruno Fernandes thing and how is it going to affect us in the games forward. Another player I would like to talk about, since we've already talked about Bruno, is Edinson Cavani because his addition to the
Hmm.
team will it bring another dimension. He has been working really hard. He's been posting about it on the social media. So and he's a player who gives his 110% when it comes to his fitness or his work ethic or whatever you want to call it. His physical attributes are not something he shies away from. Throughout his career, he's been a fit player. So, do you expect him to come in straight and fire some goals for us, or is it going to be a transition phase?
Well, Cavani doesn't really have a lot of time to, get a transition phase because when you bring in a player of his age and his caliber, and you aren't really the player and the club might not really be expecting to, to take him a lot of time to bed in. Sure, he'll people will give him the slack for a couple of matches, but after that he has to start firing in because when you compare the Cavani as a number nine to Anthony Martial, he is an out and out striker, and scoring goals is all he's done in his entire career. He doesn't really offer a lot else, like we talked about in the previous episode. Uh, because the thing with Cavani is that you have to do a lot more work for him because he's just an out and out goal scorer. So that is what we need to remember with him. He's not going to play the Newcastle game. And as far as his fitness is concerned, like we talked about his injury woes. Last season was a bit of a problem for him because he had issues with his hip and his hamstrings and his groin. Apart from that, I think he's the only one who has had a proper preseason because he hasn't effectively played since January. So as far as the
Hmm.
recovery process goes, he has had as much time as you could give any footballer. But that also brings some sort of doubt because uh, he hasn't played an actual football match. I mean, he's been out farming in the Uruguay, and that is okay. But I think I would very much like him to start scoring goals from the get go. We cannot really afford him to give a couple of months before he starts scoring those goals in. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that the first match he plays for us will probably be against Paris. So I think he'll have an agenda on his mind because he did not really leave Paris on the best terms. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm expecting him to start scoring goals right away.
Okay, so fair point from Anshuman here. Wally, what do you think about the Cavani situation?
Well, it's an interesting one because though Anthony Martial misses out in the Premier League for the next three games, he should be starting the Champions League over here. So it'll be a conundrum for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that how does he involve Cavani over here? I don't think that he'll get to start immediately in the Champions League. he will definitely have a role to play. He might be coming in the second half, and he's a perfect plan B option, like I've said. And I did not mind Edison Cavani coming in, but since we did not sign the proper reinforcement that we needed, I think it is a little bit of a problem. But like I said, he's an upgrade over Odion Igalo in terms of credentials, in terms of experience, the match winning abilities. He has that. So it'll be interesting to see over here. I hope that it's not a Radamel Falcao situation, and it's somewhat a Zlatan Ibrahimovic situation. He does have the tools to fire. And like I said, I think it's going to be a healthy competition between the attackers because Martial also needs that, and
Hmm.
it's going to be an interesting one. So we just have to see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer uses him over here.
You talked about Martial, and we have some news about Martial. There is something we have to talk about. A certain comment about Anthony Martial from a club legend in Paul Scholes. He has said something, and I don't think that is going to rub Wally the right way because he's quite in favor of Martial. He's also brought a jersey of Anthony
Yep,
Martial for this season. So you're going to have some words uh, for a club legend in Paul Scholes.
absolutely.
Uh, Martial, what Paul Scholes has said to anyone who is listening and who has no idea what we're talking about, uh, Scholes has said that Martial conned United into thinking that he's a striker, where on the other hand, he's absolutely not a striker. So that is some harsh words, I think, coming from Paul Scholes, especially after Martial had his best ever season for Manchester United in the previous season while he was playing a striker.
Right. Well, let's. And Shoman, you can speak first. I'll speak at the end about this. You can speak if you want
Okay.
to.
Uh, so I think we should start with Paul Scholes first because every time he comes out with an opinion, look, he's a very opinionated man. He's very passionate about the club. He's very passionate about football in general. And the biggest example I can give you is when he had that 30-day stint at Oldham as a manager, where he went in and he just left the club on his own accord. He said that the management was not already the club board was not ready to offer me the opportunities that I was looking for, and that's it. He was gone. So he's very passionate like that. So we need to remember that when we read about his comments. And as far as him mentioning that Martial conned us, I think this is last year was not the first time that we talked about Martial being a number nine instead of a left winger. I think this has been discussed ever since the year we had Ibrahimovic, because arrival of Ibrahimovic not only meant Martial lost the number nine kit, but he was also bereft of the central striking opportunities. And that was the time when everyone was just talking about how he likes to cut inside, how he likes to stay central, and this is why he should make a better striker. And I think we have discussed here a lot of times what Martial offers at that number nine position and what he does not. And look, when Scholes says that we don't really have a proper number nine, I think I completely agree with him because technically we don't. And thing about Martial playing as a number nine is that he has shown that he links up well with Rashford, and he can bring in the goals. Look, when he's in form, he's in form. When he's scoring goals, when he has that confident game, and he's a world beater. But I think that is the problem with a lot of Manchester United players right now. That uh, the main issue is that a lot of players play off confidence, and Martial, when he's not on confidence, he's not really performing well. So that is our biggest challenge right now, because if Martial does not score, he doesn't offer anything else. And in a central role, he still likes to drift out wide. So that is what I think Paul Scholes meant when he talked about how we don't really have a proper number nine, because we do not. Proper number nine is someone like Cavani, or maybe for as a more an example, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because he's on fire right now. He's scoring goals, and you look at the performance he gives. He just scores goals. He just scores goals, and that is the kind of number nine that we haven't had probably since Ibrahimovic. So yeah, I think there is a part of me that agrees with Scholes, but I also remember the kind. You also need to remember the kind of personality Scholes in general is. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I definitely think that Scholes is very opinionated, and there is some element of you can say passion about the club coming to the fore when he speaks. But I still feel that Wali will have some words, and his opinion would
Well,
certainly be in not in favor of Scholes. So Wali, take your chance away.
Well, now I know the reason why Paul Scholes wasn't allowed to give post-match interviews by Sir Alex Ferguson. I think this is the main reason why. So, anyways, but the thing is that we just lost 6-1 to Tottenham Hotspur. The issue was our backline, our midfield.
Hmm.
But over here, you have Paul Scholes, the club legend, talk about a centre forward who was sent off in the 30th minute in not the right manner. And the only goal that we scored was because of his link up play and the penalty that he won. So the issue that he was addressing over here was a centre forward basically being being the con man apparently and making a fool out of us when in fact we have leaked 13 goals at the back. So what is your real problem right now? Are your attackers your problem or is it your defense? 13 goals. Why do people not talk much about Harry Maguire? Jamie Redknapp yesterday he was in defense of Harry Maguire. He said that we do not know what's going on in his head and we have to be respectful of that. There are plenty of people criticizing him, and he should be let go. Well, you are the club captain. You will be criticized if you do something wrong. It's been more than a year now. You were playing in Leicester before. You were a senior player there as well. And if the same thing happens to Paul Pogba, let's say if Pogba or Anthony Martial or anyone else for that, even Mesut Ozil, let's take Mesut Ozil's example over here. They will be crucified. They will literally be crucified for for giving out stinker performances like Harry Maguire has done. I am a
Yeah.
firm supporter of Harry Maguire. I'm not saying that I hate the guy. I think that he could obviously do well. But the thing is, criticism should be given where it is due. You can't just back the guy. You be supportive of him. Van Bissaka hasn't been doing much. Post the lockdown, he's been one of our worst players. He was the player of the season before the lockdown, but not even a word has been spoken about him. You have who else is there? Lindelof. He's been shocking. Not much said about him as well. And so this is something which has been a common trend over here. And like I said, Anthony Martial, yes, out and out number nine. He's not an out and out number nine over here, but we had sold an out and out number nine in the sense of Romelu Lukaku. Why did you sell him if you wanted a number nine? And then you're going for Erling Haaland. You couldn't get him. Then you get Odion Igalo in place. And as for the comparisons with Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he did score many goals, but he missed even more than because I've seen the stats over here in comparison to Martial, and he had missed quite a few goals over there. And if I think the concept of number nine is getting obsolete to some sense because if you look at the famous teams, if you look at Liverpool right now, Roberto Firmino is the centre forward, but is he an out and
Come
out number
on,
nine?
man. Come on,
He
man.
is not.
Don't compare Anthony Martial to Roberto Firmino. He's been
Yeah, I'm
dissed
not.
by his own club fans.
No,
He's
I'm
been
not.
dissed by
I'm
his
not.
own. Come on,
That's what I'm
man.
saying. No, that's what I'm saying. See, that's what Karim Benzema. He's not. He is a really good goal scorer, but he has all the elements of the game. Now, if you look at out and out number nines, Romelu Lukaku is one of those people. Calvert Lewin is one of those
Hmm.
people. Cavani is one of them who just score goals and won't contribute much apart from that. Martial's linker play is good, and there's a reason why Martial FC is alive. The reason for that is because people criticize him. Yes, they do criticize him at the right moments, but he's an easy target. It has been the case. He has been an easy target for quite some time now. And 34 goals and one last thing 34 goals and assists last season in the Premier League, out of which not even one goal was from a penalty. And mind you, we won 23 penalties last season. So you can
Hmm.
just imagine that where that golden boot would have been.
Yeah, certainly.
Rant over.
Anthony Martial is certainly a great player. He's not a bad player, but there is something about Anthony Martial that ticks people off, and certainly it does to me. That he's one player on his prime. I've said this again and again, and maybe who listen to us continuously, who they'll know that I've said this time and again that on his day when he's on song he looks like Ronaldo Nazario in his prime. He is nimble-footed. He'll be cutting across 3-4 defenders. He'll do this that. And once he has an off day, and this is where you can separate a great player from a champion world-class player. That on his off day as well, a champion player would be trying something else if his regular things are not working. What happens with Martial is, and there's a reason why he's being criticized, and I'll come to the other side as well. That why is Anthony Martial or Paul Pogba being criticized every time there is some bad performances. So about Anthony Martial, that when he has an off day, and when the things are not going well for him, he still does the same things. He'll try and cut across 3 4 players, and he'll fail time and again, time and again, time and again. He'll give away the ball inside the penalty box or in the final half, and in the final third. And that what that does is that more often than not, and I've seen this for almost like six it's almost been like 1 year or more than 1 year when I have watched Martial with full focus, because I was like, okay, Martial, I like him, this and that. But for the past 1 year, what I have noticed in particular about Martial is that once he gives away the ball in the final third, he's not tracking back as such. I've seen this with Marshall, that he is not someone who will track back to help out in the defense, and it's completely fine. There are players who don't do that. But what that does is it brings a very rapid counter attack, and our defense, with the lack of pace that we have, more often than not, we are struggling with these kind of attacks. If you look back, every time Martial has given away the ball, there has been a rapid counter attack, and at the other end, Maguire has been at the end of it. This is one side of the argument, that why Anthony Martial is being criticized. Another side of this is what I feel about the whole situation is that why Anthony Martial or Mesut Ozil or someone like Paul Pogba is being criticized heavily, because they are playing in the English Premier League. Mind you, the same English players wouldn't be under scrutiny as such if they have been performing even
At the
similar
same
to
level.
someone like Paul Pogba. So that is a
Mm-hmm.
huge, huge point. If Martial, Pogba, these were English players, Pogba would have been a hero. Mind you, he would have been a hero. And I can write this on paper because he's a freaking World Cup winner. You can't rule that out. He's a World Cup winner, and not just a part, just like a
And
chink in the armor of their team, or just someone who contributed a goal. He was one of the most important players of that particular side.
and
He
he's still
has
performing
he
for
is
France.
and he's still performing. He's not, it's not like he's not performing. So the situation, and I also was like very skeptical about Paul Pogba. What turned me in his favor was, I remember the end of last season, or last season, last season. This season, because of the COVID, delayed with the previous season, where he was almost about to leave. There was a lot of controversy, this and that. And in the last game, if you remember well, we were talking about this as well, and we talked about it in
Right.
some previous episode in the earlier part of this podcast, that when he was being criticized heavily, and there were some fans who were shouting horrible things to
Right.
him during the last part. He was so courteous. The guy went, he just clapped. He said, "Okay, I deserve it because we have not played well." He just listened and he clapped for him. He said
Yep.
nothing, man. Something like this, you say to Eric Cantona, you will receive a kung fu kick to your face.
Absolutely.
This turned me in
Literally.
his favor, because you can't be okay. These guys are players; they are playing for a club, but these are also humans. You can't just go at one player continuously, and he has been receiving this backlash ever since he arrived,
Right.
ever since he came back from Juventus. Or from the very first day, he was receiving this backlash. And what I feel, and I feel for Paul Pogba here. Mind you, I don't feel for Mino Raiola. He is an absolute cunt, and he shouldn't be the manager,
Agent.
the agent who is representing someone like Paul Pogba, because he is not the right person who can represent a player like Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba could have been done really well without him. That aside, there are still issues, and I think we have ranted enough, Wally, you and me. So we'll just
Yeah.
move on to the next aspect. We
Hmm.
have covered mostly everything about this. We have to talk about the Newcastle game. Anything prior to that you want to add, because that will be the conclusion of this particular episode.
Anshuman.
Mm-hmm.
Anshuman, Wali, anyone?
Well, okay. So I think I would add that point when Wali mentioned about Benzema and Firmino. The thing with those number nines is that the amount of the amount of things they offer when they're not scoring goals. I mean, with Benzema, if you need an example, you need the amount. You see the amount of link
Yeah,
ups
yeah,
that he
yeah.
gave to Ronaldo. And when you look at Olivier Giroud, you look at the amount of link up he did with the French national team in Griezmann and Mbappe. You look at Firmino,
Mhm.
the link up he has with Mane and Salah. So when you bring that on the table, Martial doesn't offer that link up when the entire team requires him. Like Paritosh said, he becomes incredibly pedestrian when the entire team is not working. And yes, he is an easy target. because every Manchester United player is right now, because we have just come off a 6-1 defeat, and it has been an international break. People have had chance to stew this over. So yeah, there's that. Coming back to the Pogba situation, I think, yeah, I completely agree with the fact that he gets a lot of flack, and because most of what we hear is directly from the English media, and Paul Pogba is not English, so yeah, that just gets added on to him, and he's the kind of guy who lives in the flashlight when he's off the field. So he's so flashy with the social media and in his
Imagine,
antics, and
just imagine this scenario. Imagine the performances of Paul Pogba uh,
mhm.
are the same are the same performances of Hazel Lingard in the previous season. Imagine if that happened, what would all hell would break loose. Paul Pogba would be crucified. His effigies would be burnt right at Old Trafford.
Uh,
Yeah,
And
Possibly
this
that's
so.
is,
true.
and you can't deny that this would happen. This would happen. Hazel Lingard, and there is a soft spot. I am not saying that he has not gone through stuff. Everything is fair, but we have no idea what Paul Pogba went through. We have no idea what any other guys
Absolutely.
went through. Why are we not?
Hmm.
Why are the stories of
Exactly.
other players not coming out? The stories of Hazel Lingard came out because he's English. That will happen. Similar thing if you change it to Indian context, like we see in the IPL. If some Indian player is not performing, we'll know faster than the other foreign players because these guys are well connected to the journalists because they have been watching these players ever since these were youth players. They have not been
Yep.
watching the foreign players there when they were youth players. They are not in connection with him. And Wali and me would know this as sports journalists that you can easily catch hold of some young players while you are writing these reports, while you are working in this field, that you know that okay, this player is rising, this player is rising, and then similar thing happens, and they develop a certain kind of bond that is bound to happen. These are humans. This is human relationship. And the same thing that I hate about the English media is that they are extremely opinionated. It's not even like these are facts and this is our opinion. It's like this is our opinion and you have to find facts from it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean,
That's
with
how it
the
is.
with the amount of English podcasts that I consume day by day, this is a pattern that I have realized, that they
Huh?
start bashing about something, and some media outlet will start picking up after 5 to 6 days that, oh, we are going overboard with this, and then they'll pat themselves on the back on realizing that they have done this wrong, and then they'll be like, no, okay, look, now we're not doing it wrong. The latest example, the way the media have been overboard with Maguire, and I think the past 2 days I've spent just listening about, oh, look, Maguire has had such a poor time. Maguire has might having mental health issues. Someone someone check up on him. And I think I was listening to this on the Football Ramble earlier today, and it's a very obvious point. Like, if you ask a person one time how you are doing, maybe they'll tell you how they are doing. But if every other person, whether you know them or not, start going into your face and start asking you questions like, oh, your form has not been good, how are you doing, is this the Mykonos thing, and people don't leave you alone, that is where the problem arises. And that is what I think we have agreed about Maguire as well. Like, he does not need this media attention that he's getting on the back of the whole preseason and his club performances, and now his country performances. And yeah, it's a pretty astute point that the English media does get very in the face, and that is something that has been talked about a lot of managers in the past as well. Because I heard Rafa Benitez's interview a few months back, and he mentioned that you go to the journalists in La Liga, they ask you tactical questions like, how do you set up your team?
Right.
Why did you set up your team like this? Why did you, if your team lost, why did you choose to do this and that? And that happens to an extent in English, with the English journalists, but not a lot. Like, your staple English tabloids just ask you about personal life, and even if
More
you
controversial.
decide that you don't, yeah, more controversies, and you look like you talk about the Daily Sun, and some of the wordings that they have used to describe the people, and people's wives. I have read a lot of articles about over the 2 years, and I have called them out publicly on social media. Like, you are a formal uh, country level journalist, newspaper, you are a reputed name, and the words you are using, and being in the sports industry as a football writer, I know how many procedures your article go through before it's finally goes on the website. And realizing that the vitriol, the opinionated words, wordings they are using to talk about the players, it just completely takes them out of the fact that these are also people. Like when you're talking about football tactics, you're talking about players whether they did well or not. That is fine. That is a completely different thing. But you need to talk about them in a human aspect. And yes, Paritosh is very spot on there with the whole Maguire situation. And I personally feel that he needs to be taken out of the firing line, and he needs a break. He has needed a break ever since the whole preseason
Yep.
happened. And the whole the journalistic inquisition is not really helping his case right now. He needs to be left alone.
Yeah, and that is the case. Especially, I think this is the whole situation with Manchester United as a whole. It's not about right now. From the time I have followed Manchester United, like it's from the past 10 years, 12 years that I recall. Manchester United has always been in the news. Whether it's the controversy with Wayne Rooney, the controversy with Ryan Giggs and his family, the controversy is regarding any player. Even if the slightest of things happen, Manchester United player is always on the front page of the sports if there is some controversy involved. So this is something that needs to be corrected. I know this garners attention, this gives you views, but you have to somewhere down the line realize that views are not the most important thing in the world. Okay, we'll have to carry on because we'll be stuck at this for a long while. We'll come to the final part of the episode and the podcast, and we'll talk about the Newcastle game and how we see things set up. Wally, we'll start with you. How are you seeing things against Newcastle for Manchester United?
It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a cagey affair. We do not have Edison Cavani. We do not have Anthony Martial. And we might not have Bruno Fernandes. I think it's going to be a tight one. And we all know that Newcastle, the way that they set up, Steve Bruce and his side, it's going to be five at the back. They're not going to make it easy. They're going to hit on the counter attack. You have Saint Maximin, Jonjo Shelby, so some quality players. And let's not forget the Longstaff brothers. They hate us for some reason, and they always tend to perform against Manchester United, especially that the younger sibling Matthew Longstaff. He scored twice against us from the last two games. So it's all about rising up to the occasion. It's a big game. You cannot disregard Newcastle anymore, irrespective of how they play, because we have been shambolic. And I think we might see a change in formation over here. We are bound to see a change in formation. First of all, because we do not have our two centre forwards, Cavani or Martial. So Greenwood, I do not think that he would be playing out wide. I think we might play with two attackers up front. It might be Rashford and Greenwood. Or other than that, we might have five at the back as well. We might have Alex Telles make his debut. Luke Shaw might also be there in that team sheet. I don't think that Maguire is going to be given a break for some odd reason. In spite of the fact that he should be benched, and Bai should come in instead of Lindelof. Van Bissaka will continue, I feel, and midfield, like I said, Pogba and Van de Beek are bound to be there, and Nemanja Matic to provide the solidity. So I think this time around, instead of being more adventurous, we are going to be more compact. So it's going to be a tale of both teams counter-attacking, I guess. And it's all about the individual brilliance at the end of the day. Because right now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to fix the defensive departments because we've been leaking goals. And that is something which is quite worrisome, especially with the Champions League over the horizon. So yeah, it's going to be a cagey affair. I am supposed to be confident, but I'm not as confident. We might just be able to nick a win, I feel, and it might be through a wondrous like we saw against Brighton what Rashford did. It was a moment of magic out of nowhere. So it's going to be a win through that, and not through a process or I don't know. So like I said, it's going to be a cagey affair. I hope we get a win because that could do a work. That could actually handle some confidence.
Yeah, certainly we need a win, and this game could provide a pedestal for the rest of the month because it is going to be a tough month, that is for sure. Anshuman will also talk with you about the whole Newcastle United game, and what are your thoughts about how the team is going to set up?
Hmm. Well, Newcastle have made some brilliant acquisitions, like nothing out of the ordinary, but they have brought in nice players in Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson, and interesting
Callum.
signings. And yeah, and like Wali said, the Longstaff brothers have an agenda against us. They always perform very well. And John Joe Shelby, on his day, he becomes Beckenbauer, and given the way that we really bring the best out of other players, I think there's a part of me that expects that he'll play well. And San Maxima, he is like on his day, he's a world beater. So whichever wing he comes down on us this weekend, I think our fullbacks are going to have a hard time. So as far as our team goes, De Gea is going to start. Van Basawa will be there, and I would have liked to see Maguire taken out of the firing line, but I don't think it's going to happen. He's the club captain. There has not been any announcement about taking him off that as role. So as of right now, so I think he's going to start. Bai luckily was not injured in the international break, so I think he'll come back into the starting lineup. I would like to see him one more time. There's really no need to rush him out again. Matic will start, I think. And if Fernandes was not out of the match because of the lockdown, because of the COVID situation, I would have advocated a case for Pogba to be taken out for a while because I really don't think he has been playing well. And we brought Van de Beek in so that he could offer a rotation and a very veritable option to Pogba and Bruno. And I think this is one of those opportunities for him to start. And well, Pogba did play well for France as he usually does. And one note about Pogba's performances that I will add here that I think because of the defensive frailties, he is having to come back. I don't know if he has been given
Right.
astute instructions to do so because I would be very surprised if he has. But he's coming back on defense, and that is something that he does not like to do. Because if you think about that an interview he gave right after Mourinho was sacked and he started performing brilliantly, and interview he was asked, I think he was asked by Jeff Reeves, what has changed, and he just flat out came and said, I don't like defending. That's it. That's what he said. And you look at the teams in which he has performed in Juventus. He played alongside Pirlo and Marquisio and Vidal. And in French team, he was supported by Conte and Tolisso and Steven Nzonzi. Like these are the kind of players who do the defensive positional work for him, so he doesn't have to. And the people talk about unlocking Pogba. The only way you unlock him is by letting him be. Like he will take the flashlight off the pitch, but on the pitch you just have to leave him alone. He'll do the best part he does when he has not been given instructions. Some players need a lot of instructions to perform well. Some people do not. That is the kind of player Pogba is. And since you have brought him in for such the amount of money you did, I think it is the club's responsibility to give him that position in which he can play. And I think that is the only way he can play. That is the only way he has performed well. So that is the Pogba situation for now. Despite that, I would have liked to see him benched for a while to take him out and give Van der Beek the chance. But he will be starting with Van der Beek right now. I think Matic will be there. And as far as the front three goes, Cavani is not there. And Cavani is not there. Martial is not there. So I'm thinking Igalo will start and Greenwood will be on the right hand side alongside Rashford on the left. But given Mata's performances in the cup matches recently, I would like to see Mata link up with Greenwood. I really would. So maybe this is something that I am expecting to see that Igalo might start, but then maybe Igalo would be substituted by Mata. He'll come up the right and Greenwood will move in center, or maybe the other way around. I would like Greenwood to link up with Mata. I would like to see how that pans out. Because if you talk about lopsided front three, you take the case of Everton right now, where the front three are Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, and James Rodriguez. Now, James does not have a lot of pace, but his lack of pace is compensated by the pace that Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison offers on the other two sides. So that is something that we can give it a shot to, because we don't really have a lot of options in that regard. And right now, since two of our strikers are unavailable for the match, I would like to see Mata start. And I would like to see Mata link up with Van de Beek, Pogba in the midfield, and with Greenwood up front. And I think Telles will be making his debut. I think for me he's the better option over Luke Shaw. So I think he has to start. So yeah, 4-3-3 formation for me. Telles' debut, and I would like to see Greenwood feature with Mata and Van de Beek and Pogba in the midfield with Matic.
Okay, so that's it from Anshuman, and I think we missed out on one particular point that he said that Telles would be added to the team and he'll surely be making to the squad, because this is one player that I think uh, could be a key player for Manchester United, because we've seen time and again, and we saw this very clearly in the later part of the season. As soon as Luke Shaw got injured and he went out of the team, our performances were continuously downhill, because we can't be trusting Brandon Williams, a young Brandon Williams at least, to give in the performances expected of a quality left back or a world class left back. So Telles could be a game changer. We've seen his long shots. We've all seen the highlights. Every Manchester United fan has went down that rabbit hole of watching what the new players that have come in can do. So we'll hope that these players turn out well for us. Edinson Cavani, well, we'll see how that goes. Telles is a sure shot uh, inclusion into the squad for the Newcastle game, as for most of us. And I think we have covered most of it all. So that is it from us at One United. From me, Paritosh Joshi, Wali Siddiqui, and Anshuman Joshi. Goodbye, ciao, and we'll see you again in the next episode. Hopefully, with some positive news after the Newcastle game.
Hopefully. Bye, bro.
Hopefully.